Theurgy in Neoplatonism, a metaphysical investigation. Introduction, defining theurgy. Theurgy, from the Greek theurgia, meaning divine work, is a central aspect of late Neoplatonism, particularly as developed by figures like Iamblichus and Proclus. The term refers to a series of spiritual practices, rituals, invocations, and rites aimed at achieving union with the divine. Unlike philosophy, which seeks understanding through rational contemplation, theurgy operates on a more immediate, experiential level. It involves divine intervention, or epiphany, in which the practitioner invokes the presence and assistance of gods or divine intermediaries, such as daimons, to facilitate spiritual ascent. Understanding theurgy requires examining how it fits within the broader framework of Neoplatonic metaphysics and epistemology. Neoplatonism, especially as articulated by Plotinus, posits a hierarchical cosmology where all beings emanate from the One, a transcendent, ineffable source of all existence. Theurgy's role is unique in that it claims to bridge the gap between the human and the divine, not just through philosophical reasoning, but through actual participation in divine realities. The theurgic proponents. Iamblichus and Proclus. While the foundations of Neoplatonism were laid by Plotinus, theurgy found its most robust defense in the works of Iamblichus, c. 245 to 325 CE. Iamblichus advanced a more mystical and ritualistic interpretation of Neoplatonism, directly challenging Plotinus's rational approach. According to Iamblichus, pure intellectual contemplation was insufficient for achieving union with the divine. Instead, he argued that theurgy, with its symbolic rituals and invocations, was necessary for aligning the soul with higher realities. For Iamblichus, theurgy was not just a philosophical exercise, but a means of participating in divine order. Proclus, c. 412 to 485 CE, built upon Iamblichus's ideas and systematized theurgical practice within his broader metaphysical framework. For Proclus, theurgy complemented the intellectual ascent by integrating symbolic and ritualistic acts as a necessary complement to philosophical reasoning. Where Plotinus emphasized the soul's ascent to the One through contemplation, Proclus and Iamblichus insisted that theurgy was a more holistic path, incorporating both intellectual and divine elements. Theurgy and union with the divine. At the heart of theurgical practice is the quest for henosis, or union with the divine, a concept central to Neoplatonic thought. Theurgy approaches this union not as an abstract philosophical goal, but as a tangible experience, wherein the practitioner partakes in the divine essence through ritual acts. For Neoplatonists like Iamblichus, the soul is trapped in the material world due to its fall, and theurgy serves as a mechanism for ascending back through the hierarchy of being to reunite with the divine source. This hierarchy of being, a key concept in Neoplatonism, ranges from the material world at the lowest level to the divine one at the highest. Intermediate beings, such as souls, daimons, and gods, populate the levels between the material and the One. Theurgy seeks to transcend the material plane by invoking these intermediaries, using rituals to purify the soul and open it to divine influences. Through this process, the practitioner moves closer to the divine, aligning with the universal order and ultimately achieving union with the One. Rituals, symbols, and divine intermediaries. Rituals in theurgy are highly symbolic, aiming to invoke divine entities through sacred gestures, invocations, and sacrificial acts. The role of daimons, intermediary spirits between the human and divine realms, is crucial. Daimons act as messengers and facilitators in the theurgical process, bridging the gap between the material world and the divine realms. Theurgy's reliance on symbols underscores the Neoplatonic belief that the visible world reflects deeper, metaphysical realities. These rituals are not merely performative, but are seen as cosmically effective acts that correspond to the divine order. Iamblichus contends that divine entities are compelled to respond to the properly performed theurgical ritual because it aligns with the natural laws of the cosmos. Thus, theurgical rituals are understood as acts of divine participation, allowing the practitioner to ascend the hierarchy of being through divine cooperation. Theurgy and Neoplatonic metaphysics. Neoplatonic metaphysics is built around a dual structure, the one as the absolute source of all reality and the emanated world that derives from it. The world emanates from the One in a hierarchical fashion, beginning with the new, divine mind, then the soul, and finally the material cosmos. Each level is more distant from the perfection of the one, but each retains a connection to it. Theurgy, within this framework, is the practical means by which the soul retraces this emanative path in reverse. Philosophically, Neoplatonism emphasizes participation in the divine order. All things participate in the one, but to varying degrees depending on their proximity to the divine. Theurgy makes this participation more immediate, as the soul not only contemplates its divine source, but actively realigns with it through ritual. In Neoplatonic thought, the cosmos is not a static structure, but a dynamic process, where the soul can ascend or descend through various levels of reality. Theurgy thus serves as a catalyst for this ascent, helping the soul overcome its material entanglements and realign with higher divine realities. The problem of evil and suffering, Neoplatonism, like other Hellenistic philosophies, wrestles with the problem of evil. If the one is the source of all goodness, how do we account for evil and suffering in the world? Iamblichus and later Neoplatonists argue that evil arises from the soul's separation from the divine order. Theurgy, then, offers a way to address this problem by purifying the soul and restoring its connection to the divine, where evil is seen as a privation of good rather than a positive force. Theurgical practices help mitigate the soul's suffering by facilitating its return to the divine source. Evil and suffering are not solved through intellectual understanding alone. They are addressed through spiritual practices that realign the soul with the higher, harmonious order of the cosmos. The soul, once purified through theurgy, experiences a kind of salvation, not in a Christian sense, but as a return to its original state of unity with the divine. Ethical implications of theurgy. Theurgy also carries profound ethical implications. In Neoplatonism, the soul's purification and ascent are intimately tied to the cultivation of virtues. By aligning with divine powers through theurgy, the practitioner aligns their will and actions with the cosmic order. This alignment fosters virtues such as wisdom, temperance, and justice, which are necessary for the soul's ascent. Engaging in theurgical practices is therefore not only a metaphysical undertaking, but also an ethical one, as the soul is gradually purified and made virtuous in its journey toward the divine. Unlike mere philosophical contemplation, theurgy requires the practitioner to live in accordance with the divine principles that govern the cosmos. The ethical life, in this sense, is inseparable from the metaphysical ascent. The theurgical understanding of reality. Theurgical practices reshape the practitioner's understanding of reality and their place within it. In Neoplatonism, the material world is seen as a shadow or reflection of higher, more real levels of being. By participating in theurgy, the practitioner transcends the illusion of the material world and awakens to the underlying divine order. This shift in perception is not merely intellectual but existential, as the practitioner comes to see themselves as a soul on a journey back to the one. The practitioner's place in the cosmos is thus radically transformed. Instead of being trapped in the material world, they come to understand themselves as a participant in the divine order, capable of ascending through the levels of reality toward union with the divine. Historical and cultural context of theurgy. Theurgy arose in the context of late antiquity, a period of intense religious and philosophical ferment. As the Roman Empire became more religiously diverse, the Neoplatonists sought to defend and adapt their tradition in the face of competing religious and philosophical systems, such as Christianity. Theurgy, in part, represented an effort to preserve the ancient religious practices of the Greco-Roman world, integrating them into the philosophical framework of Neoplatonism. The rise of theurgy also reflects broader cultural trends toward religious syncretism and the desire for a more immediate, personal experience of the divine. As the intellectualism of earlier Neoplatonism seemed insufficient to address the existential concerns of the time, theurgy offered a more experiential path to divine union, one that resonated with the religious sensibilities of the period. Conclusion. Theurgy in Neoplatonism represents a profound synthesis of philosophy and religious practice. It challenges the notion that intellectual contemplation alone can achieve union with the divine, offering instead a ritualistic path that bridges the human and the divine through symbolic acts and invocations. By participating in the divine order, the theurgist seeks to purify the soul, ascend through the hierarchy of being, and ultimately achieve union with the One. Theurgy's emphasis on divine participation, ritual symbolism, and ethical purification makes it a unique and integral aspect of Neoplatonism. It addresses key metaphysical questions about the nature of reality, the role of evil and suffering, and the means of spiritual ascent, while also offering practical tools for living in harmony with the cosmos. In doing so, Theurgy provides a path to transformation, not only of the soul but of one's understanding of the entire cosmos.